Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Western Spirit. Today, we have a very special guest and someone who I have to say we didn't speak before. Now we were chatting before the show, but I was going to say something that I didn't say is that I grew up in New York and I grew up watching you a little bit over the years
Wow.
before I came to Israel. So before I came to the army here and everything, you would be a lot of times on Fox and other places. So I would see you. So today we have with us Brigitte Gabriel. Brigitte is a national security analyst, New York Times bestselling author, and chairman of Act for America. And her latest best-selling book is called Rise. I hope I got that all right. And Brigitte has an amazing story also about growing up in Lebanon during the Civil War. And I remember reading her story and being like, oh my God, it's an amazing story of just heroism and like Brigitte told me, fighting for Western civilization in general, and her life story is something that we should all learn from. So, Brigitte, is such an honor to speak with you today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me with you. I'm honored to be with you. And by the way, the subtitle of my book, Rise in Defense of Judeo-Christian Values and Freedom.
Exactly.
Because even when I wrote the book, I can see the rise of anti-Semitism, the rise against what we stand for as a Judeo-Christian culture. You know, Western civilization was founded on Judeo-Christian values and freedom. And those same values right now are under attack. And that's why we all need to come together, work together, people who come from the Judeo-Christian background to stand up in defense of our freedom.
Exactly. And so, talking about that, you got right into my first question. October 7th happened, and the next day, I was here in Israel, and my some of my family is still in America. The next day in New York City, in Times Square, there was a huge pro-Hamas protest. Like even before the Israelis here, we still had terrorists inside Israel at that point. We did not attack Gaza yet. There was no bombings yet. There was nothing. There was just terrorists killing people in Israel. And at that they felt emboldened to go out and protest for what happened, basically. Can you maybe give us like how you this is something that you speak about for years? Give us a little bit about how you saw things unfolding, and were you surprised? Were you not surprised? How did you see the things happening?
Well, when I wrote my first book titled Because They Hate, A Survivor of Islamic Terror Warns America, which is my biography about me growing up in Lebanon, being raised in Lebanon, going to Israel, living in Israel, working in Israel, and then later coming to the United States, and how I saw the erosion of my country of birth. And in that book, I talk about the fifth column on our universities. Remember, the book was written in 2005, 2006. And I talk about the brainwashing on American college campuses and how the Arabs, because of their oil money, have used their oil money to fund a Middle East study department, a political science department, appointing Arab professors who are anti-Israel, anti-America, to teach our children that Israel is evil and America is oppressive, colonizers, and then, you know, we are the problem in the world. And I talk about at that time, I was telling people, what do you expect today when we see this hatred coming out of our universities? For the last 20 years, we have been feeding our children a steady diet of hate and resentment against Israel, against the United States. And now we are seeing the result. And as you know, in business, we say an overnight success takes 20 years. You know, all of a sudden people look at your company and say, oh my gosh, they're so successful. They're everywhere. They're branches. How did they do it overnight? There is no such thing as overnight success in business. It takes a long time of sweat, equity, and the building blocks to finally get to the success where other people recognize your success. Where we are in America today is we are seeing the results of decades of brainwashing at our higher educational institution, brainwashing our children to the point where now the hatred of Israel has become mainstream in the United States, at least on our college campuses and at least amongst the youth who are addicted to TikTok, who are addicted to social media, where they are not seeing the truth. And that's the concern. And when I used to speak about this, by the way, I used to be attacked by by organizations all across America, especially Jewish progressive organizations who say, oh my gosh, you are exaggerating. There is no way this could be happening in America. Absolutely not. Well, finally today, after October 7th, you saw the result of what happens when you ignore a problem and you reflect your values on people who don't share your values.
Yes.
So just because we want peace, we want love, we want prosperity, we believe that, everybody wants to prosper, everybody wants to rise, everybody wants to live, everybody wants to build in peace. We are reflecting our values on people who hate so much that they would much rather destroy themselves, their country, their homes, their territory, their life in order to take revenge against their enemy. And that's what we saw immediately in New York after
And all
October
over
7th.
America. Yeah.
Right.
And Brigitte, one thing that I do think that is important to say is that a lot of the progressive left, the woke sort of people, is that they also hate themselves, America. So, and the West in general. So because they do so, they feel a sort of, it seems to me, a kinship with people who also hate. So there's like a convergence of people who all hate the West coming together. And Ayan Hirsi Ali, who was on my program, said a few months back when she was on, is that the Islamists have a plan. They know what will happen when they tear down the West. The woke people have no idea what's going to happen, and they'll be eaten alive, right?
Right, exactly. And this reminds me also, I'll give you a perfect parallel. When Yasser Arafat signed the Oslo Accord with Israel, Yasser Arafat, in Arabic, when he would give media interviews to the Arabic world, he would be talking about Al-Hudaybiyah when they would ask him, how could you sign a peace treaty with Israel? And he would say to them, remember Al-Hudaybiyah. Now, in Israel, while the Shalom Achshav and everybody was celebrating, oh my gosh, we have peace with the Palestinians. We're going to live side by side. Peace finally has come to the Middle East. If you would have stopped people who were in the Shalom Achshav movement or anybody demonstrating in Israel, and even today in Israel, stop people and tell them, can you tell me what Al-Hudaybiyah is? They have no idea what Al-Hudaybiyah is. Al-Hudaybiyah refers to a hudna that Prophet Muhammad signed with the Saudis, with the people of Mecca who were attacking his caravans, stealing. He signed a 10-year treaty with them that said, we will not attack you, we will live side by side, no attacks, no whatever. He used the treaty for 2 years to train and build his military to be strong enough. And when the Meccans were least expecting it, he rose against the Meccan, attacked Mecca, and Mecca fell within 24 hours. And in the law under Islam, it became known as the Treaty of Al-Hudaybiyah. So when Yasser Arafat signed his peace, the Oslo Accord with Israel, he was telling the Arabic world in Arabic, remember Al-Hudaybiyah. They knew exactly what he was talking about. The Jews did not know what he was talking about. And so today, what we are seeing in the West is we are seeing a generation that does not understand our enemy. They do not understand their own history, let alone the history of the enemy we are fighting. Our enemy has a long-term plan. We, on the other side, we have the generation of immediate satisfaction, immediate gratification. We want everything. If the internet doesn't download in under 10 seconds, oh my gosh, something is wrong with my internet. So that's why we have the problems that we have.
And maybe the next question is so right up north from where I am is the country of your birth. And obviously, like you said, and before that, Lebanon was basically taken over by these people from Hezbollah is still controlling pretty much Lebanon at this point. You've seen what's happening since October 7th in Lebanon. First, it started off with, on October 8th, them helping out their brothers in Gaza, so to speak. And then with Israel basically taking out the entire upper apparatus of Hezbollah, and then with the peace treaty, the ceasefire that's been happening now, and we'll see where it goes. But what do you think, as a person who grew up in Lebanon, who suffered attacks as a family, as a Christian family in Lebanon, looking at your place of birth now, seeing what's happening there now?
Look, it's such a shame what happened to Lebanon. Lebanon, because we were, as we got our independence from France, we were open-minded. The people, the majority were Christians. We were open-minded. We were fair. We were tolerant. We were highly educated. We had open borders. We welcomed everyone into our country. Lebanon was the only country to accept the third wave of Palestinian refugees into the country because, we're just nice people. Look, even after Israel attacked Hezbollah and they all fled from the south into the rest of Lebanon, the Christian churches opened up their doors to take the families, the children, the women into our churches so they can supposedly protect them, while the mosques did not open up their doors to accept all these Shiites fleeing. The problem is that with Hezbollah occupied Lebanon, they are a Lebanese occupying force that answers to Iran. The Lebanese today are rejoicing that Israel crushed Hezbollah. I cannot begin to tell you how many people email me, contact me from Canada, Australia, all over the world, Lebanese Christians who are rejoicing, thanking Israel that Israel crushed Hezbollah. The problem in Lebanon right now is Christians are so afraid. They are afraid of their shadow. They have been under the thumb of Hezbollah for decades. They are afraid that maybe some informant will, still in Lebanon operating, and they will inform somebody on them, and they will come and shoot them in the middle of the night. But secretly, they are all rooting for Israel to just finish off Hezbollah and have a peace treaty with Israel. And I can tell you, me personally, I am working on gathering Lebanese business people all across the world to come together and work behind the scene to bring about peace between Lebanon and Israel. My mission in life until the day I die, if I can accomplish one thing in my life before I leave this earth, it will be to make sure we sign a peace treaty between Lebanon and Israel, because the Christians in Lebanon and the Israelis have so much in common. Yes. We come from the same roots. We have the same appreciation for freedom, for life, for liberty, for justice, for education, for women's rights, for everything good that Western democracy stands for. As people who come from the Christian faith, we just need to get rid of the shackles around our ankles, which is the Islamic influence and their supporters in Lebanon, in order for us to be able to move forward and sign a peace treaty with Israel.
And Brigitte, like you said, Hezbollah is an Iranian proxy, funded, taking orders. Basically, without Iran, they wouldn't exist. And the next question is, in Israel, we've been having this conversation. It's been boiling up more and more as the inauguration of President Trump gets closer and President Biden's days are getting shorter, so to speak. Should Israel attack the Iranian nuclear facilities? Now, in the last attack, they took out according to all reports, the air defense system. So Iran right now has no air defenses that are serious. The Russians don't have enough to give them because they're working in Ukraine. And so now seems to be the time. Everybody's talking about, should Israel attack Iran? Do you think, first of all, what do you think about this? And second of all, do you think with the new Trump administration, whether Israel attacks or not, what will be Iran's position in the world?
Look, Israel has a great ally in the United States under President Trump. President Trump is going to stand with Israel, as well as the rest of the people in this country who elected President Trump. And as you saw, a massive majority stands with President Trump, believe in what President Trump believes in. The majority of the people in this country stand with Israel. We know that the only country in the Middle East that shares our values is actually the state of Israel. Everybody else is fine and great, but Israel is the only country in the Middle East that shares our values. Period. End of story. And because of that, and because we understand that Iran is not only Israel's enemy, it's America's enemy. Yeah. Remember, people like me and many experts like me who work with the administration, who have worked with President Trump in the first term and will continue working with the Trump administration in this incoming term, understand, in Arabic we say Israel is the little Satan, America is the big Satan. And believe me, this Trump administration knows, and those of us who work closely with the Trump administration will make sure the president understands, and we all know that America and Israel share the same enemy in Iran. So Iran cannot be allowed to have nuclear weapons. President Trump is not going to go to war with Iran, but he will tighten the sanctions so much that will paralyze Iran and then hopefully allow the people of Iran to rise up and take over the mullah and kick them out. And then we don't have to worry. Right now, but if we have to resort to destroying their nuclear capability, we will do that. And if there was ever an administration who would be willing to militarily stand with Israel against Iran, it's the Trump administration.
Yes. And so I guess my next question is that we've been talking about the elections. President Trump will be inaugurated very soon. One of the things that I think is like the strongest ad, I think the New York Times even said that there was this ad where you saw Kamala Harris saying that she wanted to pay for transgender surgeries for inmates. And the ad said, she's for they, them, he's for you, right? And
that's right.
And then everybody said that the election was the death of woke, or at least a revolution against the woke ideology that the Biden administration and Kamala Harris herself embodied. She's the DEI candidate, so to speak, and all this kind of stuff. So, and I think in that is also the anti-Israel people who look at everything through race and through, oppressor, oppressed, all this garbage. Sorry. But it is garbage. And so do you look at it that way? Is this like a revolution of the ordinary people against this elite wokeist stuff?
Absolutely. This is exactly why President Trump had won the majority of the vote, not just the electoral vote, but also the popular vote. America is sick and tired of the extremists trying to shove their agenda down our throats. There are no 60 genders. There are two genders, male and female. We do not want the Department of Education teaching our children, well, you're really not a boy, in school. You are not a boy, you're a girl, and therefore we're going to give you sex hormone change medication without notifying your parents. We have gotten to such a point under the Biden administration and Kamala Harris administration that our country is unrecognizable. This is not the country we stand for. Look, we are a country that values everybody, that respects everybody's right, even the right to privacy. I don't care who you sleep with, but don't enforce your policy, your point of view on me and my children and make it into law. That's where Americans got fed up with. I was just having this conversation this morning with a major corporation in the United States that I had just signed up to get their service. And of course, I went, they did something stupid, that they came out with something, about diversity and inclusion and blah, blah, blah. I called the CEO of the corporation this morning. I said, you are losing my business. I had just signed the contract with them on Friday, the Friday before New Year's Eve. And I said, we're done. I'm canceling my contract because we are sick and tired of this baloney and these type of weak policies being shoved down our throat. This does not reflect America. This is not the America we want to live in. And I think this last election sent a very loud affirmation of everything President Trump stands for and against everything the Biden administration and the woke left stand for.
This episode is brought to you by Ayn Rand Center Israel. We meet every alternate Friday to study and discuss the philosophy of Ayn Rand, author of The Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged. The topics range from ethics to politics, reason versus faith, aesthetics, psychology, and much, much more. This is the only place in Israel where Ayn Rand's unique philosophy is accessible to you, and you're welcome to come learn all about it. It's a great opportunity to learn and meet really interesting people. Attendance is free, and first-timers get a free book. We meet every alternate Friday at the WeWork in Sarona Market, and we like to keep the intellectual discussion going afterwards with some great food and drinks. Click the link for more info on Ayn Rand Center Israel.
Yeah, and Brigitte, I saw that you said something on, I think it was Newsmax today or yesterday, where you said that the Biden administration and a lot of the media refused to identify sometimes the threats. I think we were talking about the terrorist attack in New Orleans. So you said people are scared or were scared about saying it's Islamic terror because they would be called Islamophobic and racist and all this kind of stuff. People were scared of saying the truth. And now you said something to the effect of, with the new administration comes people are also, it gives them a way that they'll be able to also, they themselves, tell the plain truth that's right in front of their faces.
Yes, exactly. And I'm so glad to tell you that I know the people who are going to be working with President Trump in the national security arena, and they are amazing. We all work together. They get it. They understand the problem. They are not afraid to call it radical Islamic extremism. They're not afraid to identify it, that it's the ideology we are dealing with. Look, whether it's Hezbollah in Lebanon or Hamas in Gaza, or Al-Shabaab in Sudan, or Al-Shabaab in Somalia, or Boko Haram in Sudan. They all share the same ideology. It doesn't matter what name you give them. Their ideology is an ideology of Islamic supremacism, and they believe we are cursed by Allah and we need to be eliminated. And God divided the world between two: Dar al-Harb, the house of war, and Dar al-Islam, the house of Islam. And that's exactly what the bomber in New Orleans on New Year's Day, he said the reason why he did not commit the attack against his own family member is it would have been brushed as a domestic issue. He wanted to make sure he makes a statement with his terrorism that this is between the believers, the house of believers, and the disbelievers. So, this is the time where we need to talk about what he is referring to when he makes that statement, so our people can understand the enemy we are dealing with. Sun Tzu said, know thy enemy. And we need to know thy enemy. And I think Israel, after October 7th, learned in a very clear way, unfortunately in a very bad way, who the real enemy is. They are an enemy when they say they want to kill you. People ask me all the time, Brigitte, who should we believe? I say, believe those who say they want to kill you, because they usually follow through. And so Israel had a rude wake-up call. And I think in America, we need to educate people about the enemy we are facing, who now is in America, snuck through the border or came here under the Biden administration. And now we have a lot of cleaning up to do.
Yeah, and I will just say that one of the questions after the election also was whether the Democrats learned their lesson. Everybody was talking, did the Democrat Party learn its lesson? And you keep on hearing these types of things. They keep on saying that the problem was that we didn't tell our message in the right way. And I always think their message itself was bad. So it doesn't matter who would have said the message. When the message itself is bad, it never works. So, for example, and tell me what you think about this. I remember in the Democrat National Convention, Joe Biden said, the protesters outside have a point. It doesn't matter if it was Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, or Bill Clinton. Whoever would have said that, Bill Clinton in the 90s would never say people who are protesting against America and for Hamas have a point. Someone who says that, the party itself is broken, right?
Yes, the party itself is broken. The party itself has gone so far off the deep end that a lot of Democrats don't even recognize their own party. And of course, you've got the people who dig their heels and say, I don't believe all Hamas is bad. I believe there are some people that we can reason with. I don't believe all Hezbollah is bad. I believe there are just freedom fighters trying to defend their country. I was a few years ago at the home of a very prominent Jewish family in New York. And I actually had to debate with the man of the household about, we need to stop Iran. This is during the Iran deal and the Obama administration. Yeah. He said to me, we should let Iran develop a nuclear power. Absolutely. Iran is developing nuclear power for energy. And I kept trying to speak to him. Iran is not developing nuclear weapon for energy. Iran wants to wipe Israel off the map. He didn't want to hear it. He did not want to hear anything about it until today. They still hate Trump so much, and they still believe we can even reason with the Islamic world. We can reason with the Palestinians. The country is not going in the right direction. They dig their heel down so much. You cannot really reason with them. You cannot talk with them. So there are the misguided folks who still say, no, maybe our messaging wasn't right, but we don't believe that the rest of the country agree with Trump. They're still in denial, about it.
Yeah, two more things that before we let you go, I guess, is number one, you put up a video on X/Twitter a few when the Syrian revolution started now with Julani and everything, and you said, "Don't be so happy that Bashar Assad is gone." Because, and we had also here Kurds on the show. They're very, very worried about what's going to happen to them. The Druze, which are close to us, are very worried. They even want to come be Israeli citizens now. Some of them.
That's right.
What maybe just explain to people who aren't so familiar with what's happening why Bashar Assad was a destructive dictator who killed women and children. Why isn't it great that he's gone?
Look, they're both bad. It doesn't matter. It's like replacing Hamas with Hezbollah, which is better. They're both bad. So you've got Bashar Assad, who's a dictator, who's a criminal, who killed his people. I mean, we saw the images. I do not know if you saw any of the images of the prisoners being released from the Syrian prison. Horrific. This is barbarism on a whole different level. And so he needed to go, but he was a lesser evil than we just got. Yes, Bashar Assad, protected the Christians in Syria, protected the minorities in Syria, fought against Islamic radicalism. So he was bad, but what replaced him, Julani, is even worse because Julani was the head of Al-Qaeda in Iraq. Julani, we imprisoned him. We took him into our jail in 2006, and that's where he met al-Baghdadi, the founder of ISIS. They became buddy-buddy. He ended up being released from prison. He went to Syria to start the Islamic group in Syria. By 2013, when Baghdadi was released, Baghdadi goes to Syria and he says, okay, we're going to start ISIS. We're going to start the Islamic Caliphate. The only difference between the two, Julani did not want to join al-Baghdadi, is because Julani he did not want the global Islamic Caliphate. He just wanted an Islamic Caliphate in Syria. And so that's why he decided, no, I want to be with Al-Qaeda. When he realized Al-Qaeda did not really help him much, by 26, he decided, no, I'm on my own. I've got my own Jabhat al-Nusra. They had their own government. They had their own elections. They had their own Sharia system, Sharia legal system. So now, even though he changed his attire, like Zelensky, you are in the, military uniform, he understands the West. He figured, if I'm going to take over the country, I need to at least appear less radical than ISIS or Al-Qaeda so they do not link me to them. And so look, so right now we basically have the melange, the melting pot of ISIS and Al-Qaeda into this new regime in Syria. Just give them some time. I mean, they are radical. They are just the baby child of ISIS and Al-Qaeda.
So when he says that, notices that he's not going to attack the minorities. He wants a relationship with the West. It's all like a facade to hide his radicalism and to give him legitimacy so he'll be able to make his small caliphate, so to speak.
Exactly. He's just buying time. Look, the Taliban said the same thing in Afghanistan. After America withdrew, the Taliban took over the government. Other government powers said, okay, now we're going to recognize the Taliban as the official government. Who would have thought? We're going to recognize civilized governments in the West, in Europe, would say, we're going to recognize the Taliban as an official government, including our own government, by the way, which fought a war for 20 years. After the Taliban took over and they said, no, we promise we're going to be good, we're going to be different, we're going to bring order to the country. When was last time you heard anything about Afghanistan?
Yes.
Does anybody know what they're doing to the women? Are the girls educated? It's so off the radar right now of the news worldwide. People have no idea what's happening in Afghanistan. So in Syria, the whole world is looking at Syria right now. Give them a year or two. Not even 2 years. The whole world will forget about Syria. They will be able to do whatever they want to do. The world is going to care less. Fortunately, with Bashar Assad falling down, it gave Israel the opportunity to go in, bomb the weapons storage facilities, and be able to secure territory where they can protect the Golan Heights, where they can protect Israel from the Golan Heights, and they have the right to do it now under international law.
Brigitte, last issue that I thought was interesting to ask you about is the past 2 weeks, Elon Musk has been tweeting a lot about this story of the grooming gangs in Great Britain, where mostly it seems Pakistani men, immigrants, have been grooming women for decades now and raping them. And we know at least, they said the report, 1,400 girls, underage girls, probably more. The prosecutors and policemen, a lot of them, reports are that women or girls came to them and said, this is happening to us. But the police, instead of arresting or investigating, sometimes even arrested the parents, because the feeling was behind the scenes that this would give ammunition to Islamophobic people. And so we don't want to, raise all this, scary stuff for our people. And Elon Musk has been tweeting about this and getting awareness. And now in Great Britain, it's become an issue back, something that wasn't, went away for a little bit in the public sphere. What makes Western countries be so blinded by their fear of raising Islamophobia that they're willing to even, I guess, accept the rape of young little children?
Yes, it's horrific what's been going on. And people like Tommy Robinson, who've been sounding the alarm, have been thrown in jail time and time again. I mean, look, in my book, Because They Hate, I say Europe has become Eurabia. And Batya Orr, back in her book in 2003, actually coined that phrase. Europe has become Eurabia. So when you have the country falling apart and decaying from the inside to the point where even the police in Britain right now are arresting average citizens if they post anything on their Facebook that the government doesn't agree with. This is how far gone Europe. This is how far gone Britain is right now. And so good for Elon Musk, for shining a light in a way from far away from the United States on an international platform that is forcing Britain to look at an issue. Because look, the British people know it, they are living with it. If you are living anywhere near a Muslim community, your daughters have been subjected to rape. The local communities are frustrated, but they are afraid to speak because, like you said, the victims are being punished instead of the perpetrators. And so it's like you're living in Pakistan. It's like you're living in any Arabic country. This is what we expect to hear happening in Indonesia or in Pakistan or in Afghanistan or in, Uzbekistan. But we don't expect to be hearing this out of London or out of Great Britain. Unfortunately, that's where they are. And good for him. And this is why people like us who have a platform need to do everything we can to magnify those voices who are speaking about these issues. So together we can make a difference and preserve our Judeo-Christian values and freedom.
Finally, Brigitte, when I know that you started off, when one of your places that you started off was in Israel, reporting from here for, I think, the Christian, Pat Robertson's network at the time, right? And
Televizia Mizrach HaTichon.
Oh, yeah. So you lived in Israel for a long time and you're a big supporter. When was the last time you were in Israel? Have you been here since October 7th? Will you come soon? When will we see you?
I was in Israel in 2018 because I took my family not just to visit Israel, but also visit my parents' grave. My parents are buried on Mount Zion with Oskar Schindler.
Wow.
They are buried one level above. If you have ever visited Oskar Schindler's grave, you would have walked by my parents' grave. And I did that before my children were born because I wanted to make sure before I left Israel in 1989 that I will make sure my children yet unborn will always understand where my loyalty lies and will always be drawn to Israel instead of Lebanon. So that's where my parents are buried. So in 2018, I went and I took my children to visit the grave to solidify their ties to the state of Israel. I even actually have a daughter who was born in Yerushalayim. So I have a Sabra. And so I have not been to Israel since October 7th. I was immediately going to go volunteer immediately after October 7th. And then I realized I can help Israel far more using my platform in the United States, doing the videos that I have done and do, reaching tens of millions of people. I think immediately after the October 7th attack, my platform reached 15 million people. I think my videos reached 50 million. And people followed, were regurgitating the videos that I was doing worldwide. It got the biggest publicity. And so I understand, instead of me standing in a kibbutz helping, I can do far more worldwide in helping Israel doing here. So I have not been to Israel since October 7th. I would love to come. You need to make the Israeli government invite me to the state of Israel on an official visit, and I would love to come and speak all over Israel and meet the wonderful Israeli people and stand with them. So together we can celebrate our win against Hamas, against Hezbollah. And I look forward for that day where I can come for the victory celebrations all over the state of Israel.
Amen. And after we finish, I'll work on getting you an invitation. So, so Brigitte, it's like it's an honor to speak to you, first of all. And what you're doing is very important. Your work has been for decades now very important in the fight for freedom.
And can I add something? I know we talked about my work, but my work is done through my organization, actforamerica.org. I want to make sure people are aware.
We'll put the link in the description, and we mentioned at the top and now at the bottom. So we have all the bases covered. Your link will be there for people who want to check out Brigitte's work, Brigitte's writing, Brigitte's also on X/Twitter. People don't know it's X sometimes. So follow Brigitte. She has a huge following, like you mentioned, with your videos, your posts, your tweets, and you're all over the media. So today, like you said, you have like 30 media interviews. So everywhere, go wherever, every TV station, wherever you want, watch your stuff. And I think what you're doing is very, very important. And you're someone who, like I said, I watched you maybe like 10, 15 years ago. So the fact that you're still here fighting the good fight is something that we should all strive for. So thank you so much for being with us. And I will be working on that invitation. And when you get invited, come to us for Shabbat dinner.
I would love
thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Glad to be with you.
And thank you so much for our listeners and viewers. Subscribe and watch. And also you can send me private messages and I'll send to Brigitte's people. And if there's something good, you can answer and get back to us. So thank you so much. And we'll see you in our next episode. Thanks for tuning in to the Western Spirit podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. See you next time.